We've got people from Alabama, Virginia, Melbourne, New York, bonjour, Canada, Calgary, Brisbane, that's where I am, bonjour, West Palm, Florida, US students, I know you had the Super Bowl on today, so thanks for joining me for this. I feel extra special. Los Angeles, Richmond, Maryland, Californie, le Québec, Perth, Londres, bonjour. Wow. Chicago, etc. Oh, just moved to France, Hazel. Dans quelle ville? In which city? Hélène is from Quebec. Hélène, your chat is set as direct message, so only I can see it. So just above where you type your message, you'll be able to change it to all participants or everyone. I forget how they've named it. Super. Liz est de Ontario, Julie de Brisbane, bonjour, Stephen de Gold Coast, bonjour, British Columbia, Sydney, bonsoir de New York, John vient aussi de New York, il est tard, alors bonsoir, Vermont, New York, New Jersey, Seattle by the way of Japan, Japon, super Shinatsu, Sommière Sommière du Clin, dans le 86. D'accord, Hazel. Even French people struggle to say French place names sometimes when it's a place you've never seen before. Pas de problème, Ciel. Super, bienvenue tout le monde. I see there's a couple more in the wait room. We will get started. So, I am going to share my screen with you all from the beginning et je vais enregistrer super. Bonjour et bienvenue. Can I make sure that you have your video off, everybody? Merci, merci. So just switch your video off if you're still on video so that you'll still be able to see everything. You just need to turn your camera off. Merci, Michael. If you can help with some of that, that would be great. Super. Merci tout le monde. Génial. Aha. Merci, merci. Alors, I will come back to camera once we do our question and answers at the end, but today we are talking about how to move beyond beginner French. Bienvenue, bonjour, bonsoir. I know lots of people are here from around the world, so you might be a bonjour, you might be a bonsoir if it's after 6 p.m. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how you can go from feeling stuck with your French to too nervous about speaking and recognizing lots of words, but you're still feeling unsure about how to use them in a meaningful way. I'm going to teach you how to know how to put it all into use, and so that what you already know can be used and you can move beyond beginner land. I like to call it beginner land. I think it makes it sound more glamorous. If you can, this is the moment to get rid of all distractions and grab a cuppa. If you have a croissant et une tasse de café, pas de problème. Just any technology things that you need, do that. Put your phone on mute. Stay here. If you have your workbook, do grab it. I did send it a couple of times between registration and now, so you might have it. Otherwise, a piece of paper, un morceau de papier et un stylo, c'est parfait. You will be fine with that. So here are a few reasons why you might be here. Reason one, you're excited about being able to get the words out of your head and being able to assemble them with ease so that you can start conversing in French. Is that you? Reason two is that you've been learning French for a few years, you're motivated to improve your French, and you still have time in your life to do the things that you love with the people you love most. That's reason number two. Is that you? Reason three is probably that you're intrigued by the idea that you can stop trying to squeeze more and more French words, more French grammar rules in your brain, and instead be able to focus on the right things and practice the language that you truly find useful while ignoring the non-essentials. I would love to know which one is your main reason. There might be several. Are you mostly excited about the ease of assembling the French that you already have? So type assemble in the chat. Or are you excited about leaving behind the guilt of not enough study time? We always try and pursue this, if only I had more time, as the magic pill. So let me know if time is the main reason. Or are you intrigued about simplifying how much you actually need to learn? Simplifying might actually be the main reason, the main curiosity you have about moving past French beginners. I'm looking at the chat at the same time. Wow. Okay, lots of simplify, all of them. Time, assemble, assemble and simplify. Simplifying, simplify. So some have no issues with time. It's more simplifying, assembling. Simplify, assemble, simplify, assemble, simplify, assemble. Diane says,
I don't hear anything. Well,
maybe
I'm
speak with ease, the little I know, instead of just being able to read. Yes, Diane, we will talk about that. More assemble, more assemble. Brilliant. This is exactly the reasons that I feel most students do struggle at this point. So, bienvenue, you are in the right place. A little bit about me, if we haven't met, and perhaps you were on Facebook and you got invited along to this masterclass. My name is Tavy Baisley, and it's spelled with a D. It's a Cambodian name, but my mother's Irish, and she moved over to France, and she's the reason why I can speak English with no accent or a slight Irish twang. And we grew up in France. So I was born in Paris, 40 odd years ago, and all my siblings, we all grew up in France and did all our schooling there, all my university. And it's only after university that I went overseas. And since then, I've been hopping between different English speaking countries using the beautiful gift of language my mum gave me, and still wanting to have French in my life because I miss it a lot. So even if you're French, you can be a diehard Francophile and still miss it. On the right is my husband, Mark, and my daughter, Annabelle, and we are living now in Australia, in Brisbane, and it's a really fun life we have here. Beautiful blue skies, which remind me of Provence, where my family is now in the south of France. A few numbers. I've been teaching for over 25 years. At the start, I started teaching English in France and now French in English-speaking countries. I started my company called French Speak 10 years ago. We've been able to help hundreds of learners online and offline each year. And I don't do that alone. I do have a team of 4 teachers currently in France and in Australia who help me deliver the lessons and the courses that we have. And I've designed thousands of hours of lessons with the primary goal of increasing speaking confidence. The reason why I called my company French Speak was to really help people move from the theory of French or the books to be able to build the confidence to speak up and speak out loud, pronounce things right, and learn how to think on their feet so they can start applying the French they know. So I'm very passionate about speaking confidence. Here are some photos of some retreats that I've run with students before and some local events where we do conversation. However, if you've heard about it, since the pandemic, this is how most of my interactions are happening these days, on Zoom, just like today. So you are all here in the one setup that I do over and over again. Every one-on-one lessons I teach is on Zoom, and every group lesson and group course that we run are now on Zoom. So this is my tool of choice, and I'm so grateful. I've been using it for a few years. So lots of smiling learners. I'm saying non. This is what I stand for. This is my vision, and my philosophy is to say non to overcomplicating things, because That happens way too much with language teaching and learning. And we to teaching you step by step what makes a real difference and what gets you as a learner, what gets you speaking. So this is what underlines everything I do. Now, I'd like you to take a deep breath and imagine this. You might want to close your eyes, but could you just imagine a sentence rolling out of your mouth while you're ordering a meal in a French restaurant? And the waiter gives you a nod as he walks away from your table, as he didn't even realize that you weren't a native speaker. Now, would that make you do a happy dance? What an amazing feeling that would be. I think for me as a learner of Spanish, I would probably get off my seat in the cafe and do a dance on the spot. But this is what we want you to be able to aim for. And I think a lot of people who are stuck in beginner land, this feels really far away, and it doesn't need to. It's often due to overcomplicating the process and the goals, and we'll go into that this feels really hard. So I want you to picture this or your version of that, and tap into it, see how that feels, and make that your goal. 2021 is definitely enough time for you to be able to do that. You can achieve that in the next few months. So, is everyone seeing my screen? Yes, I think so. Audio, yes, I do a happy dance. If you can't see my screen, maybe hop out and hop back in. Oui, lots of people are seeing my screen. Je voudrais un verre de vin rouge, s'il vous plaît, Lise. Oh, moi aussi. It's a little bit early in my day. Une tasse de thé ou une tasse de café for now, but un verre de vin rouge, c'est une très bonne idée. So, moving past beginner land means that you no longer need to add new words and grammar rules to your French. You most likely have enough, but instead, you begin using what you already know and you refine it. And that way you can enjoy starting and understanding more French. We want you to be able to say things as much as you can understand things, because otherwise you're having a monologue and not a two-way conversation. Here are the 5 steps to become a more confident French learner. If you have the workbook, grab it. This is when you're going to start filling out some of the information. It's all kind of mapped out in there. So here are the 5 steps. I've called it the Beyond Beginner French, BBF, framework. I tried not to say BFF, BBF. And the 5-step framework will help you to finally move past the French basics. It's a circular thing. We will come back and repeat the steps over and over again for different aspects of French. Step 1 is to identify your focus point. It is not enough to start the journey of learning a language or a lesson or study session by yourself of I'm just going to learn as much as I can today. You need to have a singular focus point. I've got a great book by Gary Keller called The One Thing, and it is a business book, but I feel it applies to French a lot. And he says, success demands singleness of purpose. You need to be doing fewer things for more effect, instead of doing more things for side effects. It is those who concentrate on but one thing at a time who advance in French. That's my version of his quote. But truly, you can stay busy as a language learner and never run out of things to learn. Busy work, busy study, and not approach French in a way that is actually moving the needle, that is actually getting you from this stage of beginner or new learner to beginner, beginner to upper beginner to low advanced, intermediate, low intermediate to mid to high advanced, or upper intermediate, all the way to advanced. You need to see that there's a progress so you can keep your motivation, I feel. So the one thing, tell me, what do you feel is the one thing that you could work on? Let me give you some examples. It could be something as narrow as I'm going to travel to France when borders open again and I can travel safely and I want to be able to hire a car. You can break that one small goal of your trip. There'll be lots of other things you want to achieve. That one small goal, you can break that down into so many aspects. And one little sliver of that is vocabulary around hiring a car. And then after that, it can be another thing. Or you might say, oh, I've been playing around with the present tense for quite a while, but every time I have to use an irregular verb in the present tense, it trips me up. I only remember 5 and I know there's 30 that I use regularly or that I need regularly. And so your next one thing is going to be that tiny sliver, irregular verbs in the present tense. D'accord? It could be that you're able to say 10 things about yourself. Comment vous appelez-vous? Your name, votre âge, your age, where you live, j'habite, mes frères, mes sœurs, mes enfants, talking a bit about your family, je suis with your job. So maybe your one thing is to be able to turn that into a two-way conversation. Can you ask a question for everything that you're able to say? And then can you comment back and react when the next person says oui, non, and their answer? Can you build on from that conversation? So I'd love you to identify what your one thing is. Pick something tiny. It's going to feel uncomfortable if it's the first time you've looked at it that way, because we want our goal to be, just want to be fluent in French. I just want to be able to have a conversation in French. But this is the framework. This is step 1, is to narrow it down and think of one thing, because then you can look back and tick that off. You've either worked out how to do that or you haven't. But if you keep having your goal as French in general, or improve my French, or get fluent in French, it's going to be very hard to tick off. So make it a small one thing and commit to working on that to start moving the needle. Keep putting them in the chat and I will come back to them. Step 2 is to decide whether that one thing needs to be learned, i.e. it's something new, or if it needs to be refined. Like I said, irregular verbs in the present tense could be something you need to refine. You have studied the present tense, you've done the grammar exercises, perhaps you've completed them successfully, but when it's time to talk or when it's time for you to hear them, you don't recognize them. So you're not familiar with them enough. So that's refine. If it's vocabulary around a hire car, maybe it's a completely new topic of conversation. For many of you, it will be. Then that's a learn. You need to approach it differently if it's learn or refine. So step 2, look at your one thing and see if it's learning or refining. Bien, bien, bien. Bienvenue. We've had lots of new people join in. Thank you for keeping your cameras and your microphones off. I will chat to you towards the end. Alors, one of the things that a lot of learners want to refine or learn are verb tenses. Verbs in French, how fun are they? So what we need to do is look at the Pareto principle. You're looking at 20% of your French, that can be vocabulary as well as grammar, will help you in 80% of the situations you're going to find yourself in. Okay? Again, it's that approach of less and more intense focus on that bit, so you can start feeling mastery of it and fluency and flow and ease. You can start doing it well and quick, and it comes to you quicker to be able to deal with 80% of the situation. There's actually only, if you think of a big dictionary with thousands and thousands of words, it's only a sliver of that that is used in everyday conversation. So really start using a laser beam with your French. Let me share with you a simple trick to rapidly work out the correct tense every time. This is something I'm very passionate about because overcomplication. We do overcomplicate it. And English speakers who are also learning French are at a huge advantage when it comes to French verbs. Let me show you why. The most unhelpful myth that you might have heard back in your school time, I've heard teachers say it, just start thinking in and whatever language. I studied German at school, and then I did 1 year of Spanish in my last year. Just start thinking in, insert the language. For us, for you as learners, it may have been, just start thinking in French. Stop thinking in English. Once you can start thinking in French, it'll all fall into place. And I feel it's the most unhelpful thing anyone could say to an English speaker, because when it comes to verbs, you will be able to gain some traction and make some really quick decisions if you do keep thinking in English. So this is how it works. Again, this workshop is for beginners who are wanting to get past those initial basics. So these are the essential verb tenses for beginners. We have the present tense right here in the middle. We have the passé composé, which is called the past perfect for an event that happened here or here. And then we have the near future, or called futur proche en français, présent, passé composé et futur proche. Les trois verbes, les trois temps principaux. These really are the essential ones. Before you learn any others, and if you have learned others, you might need to rewind. If you only know one of those, master that one before you move to the others. But these are the three key tenses to master to be able to have conversations. If you can use these, you will be able to speak in French and have so many conversations. So this is how to use it. So I've created a verb lookup guide. Many of you have already got it, but this is how it works. This is the theory around it. Step 1, you have to become aware of what you're expressing, which we don't do when we think and speak in English. We use this tense and maybe 4 different tenses in one sentence without even realizing, because it is done with so much ease. It's done second nature. When you want to express that in French, you do need to become aware of what you're expressing. Step 2 is to neutralize the verb tense by using a fake verb. I will suggest the verb to French speak for my examples here. You can use any fake verbs: to dilly-dally, to muck around, to whatever verb you want to use. You will be able to just neutralize what that verb tense is by using a fake one, and I'll show you how in a minute. And step 3 is to use the guide, which I'm going to show you for these 3 tenses, to check what you actually need. Okay, so let's look at this. First, we need to have an awareness of what you're wanting to express. Are you wanting to say, we are going to French speak, we French speak, we French spoke, we do French speak, we've French spoken in the past, we did French speak in the past, or we are French speaking right now? What are you trying to express? If it's not on this list, then it's actually not something that you will be able to do yet as a beginner. Okay? Awareness of what you're wanting to express. Which one of these, with your fake verb, do you want to express? The next step is then to notice that we French speak, we do French speak, and we are French speaking are actually the same thing when it comes to French. We French spoke, we've French spoken in the past, and we did French speak, or your chosen made up verb. They're all the same in French. So with 7 different verb tenses in English, you only need to know 3 in French. D'accord? 7 en anglais, 3 en français. It is much simpler, but you do need to do the step of getting the different, being aware of what the tense is, so you can then pause enough to go, oh, these 3 are the same, I need the present tense. These 3 are the same, I need passé composé. This last one is a futur proche. D'accord? Which tense do you most need to focus on right now? So with all my examples, we had présent. The answer was nous parlons. Passé composé, nous avons parlé. And futur proche, nous allons parler, or others. So let me know in the chat box, which of these do you need to focus on most right now? Please don't say all, because I'm trying to get you to think of your next objective. D'accord? It is not going to be helpful to think, I need all of them. You might need all of them. I'm asking you which one you're going to focus on next. D'accord? Now. Ooh, did I do that? Someone's drawing on my presentation. Can you please stop? Merci. So in the chat, we have présent passé composé. Super. Passé composé will take a while. Oh mon Dieu, le passé composé. Lots of you, futur proche, still need more present. Diane, don't move beyond present until you feel very comfortable with it. It is sometimes a bit humbling. We've got to swallow up our ego, because we've gone, oh, but I've learned these other tenses, but quite often we move too fast. D'accord? So passé composé, présent, futur proche, passé composé. And I'll tell you something, however long you've spent on présent, the very first tense you've worked on is probably the same amount of time and love you need to give to passé composé. Sometimes we think, well, I've done présent, now I understand verb structures, je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle, pluriel. So I get that, and we just want to accelerate too much, but passé composé is a meaty one. And whatever length of time you spend on présent, passé composé deserves that. And the good news is, futur proche would be in third position in priority, and that one can get knocked over in half the time. D'accord? I've taught it in an hour. Doesn't mean it's acquired. It just means in terms of theory, we can move on to the practice time then. So bravo. Thank you for committing. Not a single cheeky person has put all of them. So you have that point of focus, which is brilliant. Bravo. Step 3 is to review and test yourself. Michael, if you're able to erase these scribbles, or that would be great. Doesn't matter. I can still see the screen. Step 3 is now to review and test yourself. And this stage doesn't even feature in most learners' mind when it comes to learning, because when you were at school, maybe if you learned some French, you did have regular reviews and tests. And that's usually how your French kept progressing, because you just kind of cram and work to prepare for the next test. When it's adult learning, we don't often have a test coming up. And now it's going to become a little bit more of a step we want to jump past, because we don't like to have the gaps in our French highlighted to us by us or by a teacher. So we might decide I'm never sitting a French exam. We might decide I'm just going to move on to the next thing, is often what happens. So there is a step in the framework and in everything we do at French Speak, in all our programs, where we pause regularly, not after 10 weeks of learning or after 1 year, we do a big review at the end of the year, or even 6 months. It's too much. We need to review and test ourselves for that little goal that we've set, whether it was learning or refining it in step 2, and then we're going to review and test that one. D'accord? So you're checking for your understanding. Your gap checking is, do I understand all of the rules? So this is when we start trying to recall things. So if you need some kind of memory trick, perhaps you have trouble sometimes retaining what you learn. I know many, many people do. I am going to clear all drawings. Ah, that worked. Parfait. So the retaining, what we ask of our brain is sometimes, and I see it with students, we often bad mouth our brain. Your memory is not bad. What happens from this first head to the next one to the next one is the normal behavior of knowledge into brain. You start and you know it 100%, and then it starts emptying. That is how all memories work. That is how all brains work. There is nothing wrong with yours. We lose about 80%, 80%, that's what I said, 80% of the information we learn en un mois, within 1 month. This very clever chap, Ebbinghaus, has created a forgetting curve to kind of show they test results from lots of research he's done on how much people can retain over time. So immediately is when you've just learned that list of words or that grammar rule, you've just learned how something works and you know it 100%. You've retained it, it's right now. If someone asks you, you know it, it's just happened. 20 minutes later, 1 hour, 9 hours, 9 heures, un jour, 2 jours, 6 jours, un mois. 31 days later, you are down to less than 20%. And his solution, luckily he has come up with a way, is to use spaced repetition with everything we do. So if you can recognize the forgetting curve, the blue line from Ebbinghaus's curve, what he suggests is that by doing several repetitions over different times, you will be able to retain a lot more. So first repetition, you do it here, all the information kind of tops back up, and then you start forgetting again. Second repetition, you do it again, but this time you don't forget as much. You're already just under that third, maybe 40%. The third repetition, you bring it back to 100, and then you lose even less. Fourth repetition, etc. So it's by layering these reviews at spaced intervals that you will be able to help your brain. And that is a really smart way of learning. It's not harder, it is just a different approach that we don't always do naturally. So you're aiming for the first repetition to be within the next day, 24, 48 hours. 1 week later, 1 month later, 3 months later. You can start varying them afterwards. But if you take the steps from this framework today and apply them, you will be able to note that you aimed to learn or refine this one thing, and you'll be able to put it back in your calendar to review. So the key is to not cram, because you will forget, and instead to recall it, to keep asking yourself, so what was that rule? What was that word? And you will be able to remember it. So don't cram and forget, instead recall and remember. I'm still working on making this a little bit catchier. If anyone has suggestions or works in marketing, please tell me. But for now, this is my tip for you for memory. Step 4, we are doing practice and produce. This step is also a step that is harder to do. It's harder to do when you're studying by yourself, and it's also more uncomfortable. We are able to recognize so much French than we can use. Sometimes you open your French book, you complete a grammar exercise, you check the answers, you've got it all right. You look at the sentences and you go, yeah, I know what they all mean. Now, if a teacher closed your book and said, okay, can you now tell me how you'd say blah, 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 phrase number 1 from that grammar exercise in French? That is what causes the most trouble, is that production of French. So if we don't have a step in our learning to practice what we learn, so do little drills on little things and produce it, it's going to be skipped, and we're going to get excited about the next shiny thing and want to move too fast. So Please remember to use it or you will lose it. This one's catchier, hey? Let me have a drink. I'd love to know what you think. I know we can be very harsh about memorizing things. We all think someone else has a better memory. We might tell ourselves, oh, I never remember names and addresses. And it was actually a Spanish teacher who challenged that for me, because she said, if I was to tell you, so she explained the rule and I said, oh, I need to review this because I still forget it half the time. If anyone's studying Spanish, it's between ser and estar. They've got two ways to say to be, two ways to say être. And with my brain, it's very hard to choose which one. So I've went through it at school when I did 1 year, then I went through it when I did some self-study, and I was going through it again. So I was saying, I just can't remember that rule. I feel it just goes in, I understand it, and it just goes straight out. And she said, really, if I was to give you $1 million to remember this next week and to know it so well that you can explain this rule to me, when we meet next week, do you not think you could do it? And straight away I thought, oh, so all those times where I say to myself, oh, I can't remember that thing. And I go, actually, there's just not enough at stake. If someone was to give me $1 million to remember a long poem off by heart, or remember 10 people's phone numbers off by heart, I will find a way for it to stick. And I think we need to want it that much. If you did French at school and you feel like you were able to do more than you can now as a beginner, there was more at stake. There was a teacher on your back. There was a parent or family member who would want to check how you did in the test. So the incentive to make it stick was greater. And now we're grown-ups and we don't really put as much pressure on ourselves. So try and think of that. Next time you think, oh, I always forget that rule, or oh, I always mix these two things up. Try and think, if there was someone to give me $1 million, $1 million d'euros would be even better, to remember this rule, how would I go about remembering it? Would I write it on Post-its around the house? Would I write it on my hand? Would I check twice a day, do I still remember all the irregular verbs that go with in the house of être and things like that? Just what would I actually do if there was something at stake here? Otherwise, you can't blame your memory. It really is just how you're approaching it. I've got a couple of things in the chat. Lo mismo en español. Yes, you're right. Just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, listening skills at verbs, fairly well. Brilliant. So yes, listening and speaking, two sides of the same coin. There is no way you'll turn into a confident French speaker if you think that every time you ask a question, you have no idea what's going to come back your way. So listening is just as important. Wait. And a skill to work on. Bien. And step 5, la dernière étape, the last step, is to consolidate and blend. Again, you want to do this for each little item of French you choose. So each one thing that we did in step 1, you want to pause to consolidate. You want to, it's a little bit like, my brother's a tennis coach. All my family is crazy into tennis. And they will, at tennis practice, they will practice serves, serving. And then on another lesson, they'll do backhands, lots of backhands, and just setting you up to run up to it, do a backhand. And then another time or another moment in the lesson or in the 10-week course, it'll be volley, being able to hit back a volley really up close to the net. In every sport, we know there's drills, there's different elements. When we learn to drive, there's different skills that then we have to put together. But when it comes to language, we don't often see it like that. So the step 4 is to practice. So practice a little part of each thing. And step 5, you're putting it all together. It's time to have a full tennis game with a real person or against the wall for practice. So consolidation, you're trying to put all the elements together and you're blending them with something you learned before. So it'll go like this. You can have different goals for your consolidation. It could be, I just want to do it, but make less mistakes when I do X. I want to use this new concept with more ease, because when you start using something, it's going to feel like you're making 12 decisions in your brain before you can make one sentence out. And that is normal. There are so many different little elements to making a sentence in French or in any language. We just do it naturally in English. So you might want, your goal might be to use that concept with more ease, and that'll come with lots of repetition, or have more flow, less effort when you do it. You need to aim for something for your consolidation. Practice time, step 4, is when you try and do as many mistakes as possible and get feedback on it. Step 5, you are now trying to consolidate it. And then you blend it. You blend it with the previous one thing you did. You won't have one for the first time you go around, but if the first one thing was a vocab point and the next one thing is a grammar point, then you're layering them. What can I do with irregular present verbs on the topic of hiring a car? I am blending them. I'm putting them together. And by that, I'm bringing the one I did last time, which is starting to kind of move, be covered in layer of dust. I'm dusting that off, bringing it, making it current, making my confidence, creating such a confidence boost at this point, and then do that last step before you go back to step 1. So then you go back to step 1, you repeat as needed, as many tiny, narrow one things. You start step 1, then you move on to learn and refine. Step 3, review and test yourself. Step 4, you're practicing and you're producing lots of language. So lots of writing, lots of speaking, less reading and less listening, but more production at step 4 usually. And step 5, you're consolidating, blending with the last one thing, and off you go again. That is how you will be able to repeat and get better and better. Without this framework in place, or the steps to it, you're likely to feel overwhelmed or procrastinate with your French, waste time on things that won't actually advance your French. I've done it so many times. Oh, there's a new app I found, or a new podcast I found, or I'll buy a new book and start again. There's just so many things that can distract. And then you run out of steam and you lose motivation. You might start and keep stopping due to a lack of momentum. You'll study lots. Most people who say they're stuck in beginner, it's not because they're not studying enough. It's because they're studying lots, but nothing is sticking. So they definitely want that to change. With this framework, things can stick. You can recognize way more than you can say, and you get stuck in review mode. And recognizing way more than you can say, I believe I've seen that a few times today in the chat already, that it is one of your reasons. So now you have the different steps to do. These things don't happen when you're using the framework. So I truly hope that you will take some of this and do some change how you're approaching your French. Why it's harder doing this alone, why it's easier to do this in a program or a group setting, is that when you're alone, it's easier to stay in your comfort zone. We all do it. We try to avoid the hard things and we do more of the things we're good at, more grammar exercises on this thing, or more reading, because that's less challenging. We tend to do more of the things we're good at. We absorb way more than we read. We absorb way more French. Often that's reading. Listening can be another one. Sometimes we listen way too much and don't challenge ourselves to speak. We focus on the next thing, or we want to move on to the next thing instead of focusing on the right thing. We do less language production, not enough speaking. We're not sure what direction to take our French. What's the next right thing to work on that'll give us some results? So we kind of go scattergun and just grab whatever. If you follow a YouTube channel, you just watch the next video next, or if you're following a book, you just do the next thing in the book. Books are usually formatted in a way that it is more of a logical progress curve, but we just kind of move on to that next thing a bit too fast. And we're left with unanswered questions when we do it alone, because there's only so many rhetorical questions you can ask yourself about French. So the whole Beyond Beginner French framework ensures that you will become a more confident French learner. You will learn how to add layers, new ones, only once previous layers are set. And the carefully selected order of those steps will help you communicate with ease faster. So now it's your turn. I'm going to have a sip of water while you tell me, out of the 5, which step is the most crucial for your French learning right now? And I'd say the most crucial is going to be something that you have never done or don't do regularly enough. That is going to be the step that you need to start implementing or implement more consistently. Could be consistency. So type in the chat, step 1, if you need to focus on one thing at a time, but the right thing. Step 2, if you need to learn less for more effect. Step 3, if you need to check for gaps, like test yourself. Step 4, if you need to practice using your French. And step 5, if you need to perfect it and blend it. And that's when you put it all together before you start learning something new. Alors, un petit peu d'eau. J'ai beaucoup parlé. I've been speaking lots. And I will check the chat. Steps 4 and 5. Rukshana, 1 for Anne, 1 for Stephen, 1 for Anne, 5 for Hazel, 4 pour Margot. Julie, focus on hearing spoken French so that it does not seem so hard to understand. Yeah, so your one thing could be pick one topic of conversation that you want to do some listening practice with. Listening practice is too big. It needs to be listening practice about what topic, if you can, or around what grammar point, if you can. It needs to be a bit narrower, Julie. Improving my listening, my understanding of spoken French is a long-term goal. Your one thing, we need to narrow it around a topic or vocab. A vocab topic or a grammar point. Ella 5, Wendy 1, 4, 5. Wendy, I'm going to ask you to choose one out of those. There's 4 that you know are crucial. There's got to be one that's, you know, is the next right one. Numéro 4, Bob 1, Julie, Viviane 1, Yvonne 5, Esther 3, 4, 5. Super. 3 of them are important. There'll be one that you need to focus on most. Les 2, j'ai besoin de parler au passé composé présent et futur seulement. We just narrow those tenses. If you already know them, it's time to then start doing the production. So production in those 3 tenses is big. I would pick even 1 tense and practice that one. Claudia, 3 pour moi. Wendy, 4. Merci. Et Julie, sure. Just not sure how I can narrow this down as there is no one I know who speaks French. Well, I will have a chat with you during this masterclass about just that. Yvonne, all of them. What is the main one? What is the one crucial one, Yvonne? There has to be something. Merci, Julie. Pas de problème. Très bien. So, would you like me to teach you how to build upon your French basics, how to start assembling them, and so that you can converse with more ease, confidence, and flow? I love these 3 words when it comes to language: ease, confidence, and flow. Would you like that? There's different people here. I see that we have 40 people live right now. Merci tout le monde. And so many of you have signed up and are going to watch the replay. So there's different reasons why you might be here. You showed up today for a particular reason, even though you were busy, or it was the Super Bowl. You really want to make a leap with your French, but you're scared that you'll never get there. You feel uncertain. Your French level isn't strong enough to be able to speak confidently yet, but you're just not sure about the next best step and you feel stuck. You think learning French has been a selfish, guilty pleasure for a while, but it takes time away from your family and projects, and you no longer want to feel like you have nothing much to show for it, and you're feeling guilty. Or you're intrigued by what you can do with your French basics, and you're excited about using them in conversation. You want more progress. You want to feel a leap with your French. As I see it, there are two options. At this point, you can, option one, you don't make a plan to move past beginner French. You don't apply anything I taught you today in the framework, and you're probably going to find yourself in the same place this time next week, still lacking some confidence to have a conversation. Or option two, you commit to building upon your basics using this proven framework. You will finally be able to put together the French you know, and you will be able to converse with French speakers with more ease and confidence, but you need to apply the framework. D'accord? So this is your invitation. I have a program called Beyond Beginner French. Move past the French basics and get speaking. And we are starting on Monday. Michael will pop the link in the chat. The doors are opening today and we start Monday the 15th. And I'm so excited. It's a really amazing program, if I can say myself, and I've created it and it's different to anything that I've seen out there. It's basically what I wish a Spanish teacher created for my learning. So this is how it works. The Beyond Beginner French program, aka BBF, is the only one of its kind, which combines some learning as well as practice, as well as accountability, because it's a group program, and a teacher, moi, in your back pocket for an entire 3 months. It will not only show you exactly how to start using your French basics in conversation, like a pro, but also how to understand more spoken French. By the end of the program, this is what you will be able to do. You'll be able to use the French you know to converse in French, know how to speak clearly, we work on pronunciation, to always be understood, understand what to focus on to improve your French, learn the essential words, phrases, and grammar to move you past the basics, and have the confidence to engage in conversation and understand the answer. So for anyone who said that listening is their nemesis, this is this last point. This is one of the goals of this program. Beyond Beginner French program lasts 3 months, 12 weeks, and we have a 4-week rotation that we do every month. La première semaine, we focus on language building, vocabulary, phrases, etc. La deuxième semaine, we focus on sentence making, more grammar, verbs, pronouns, linking sentences. La troisième semaine, we focus on successful learning. So creating a routine that works for you, a study habit, working on memory, working on ways to approach learning that fits your own individual learner profile. And la dernière semaine, we focus on practice. It's all about practice. It's all about pronunciation. And it's where we have question and answer session with a live session with moi. The monthly topics, so there's 3 months, 3 different topics, 1 whole month on Mon Monde, your home, your family, your work, and your interests, 1 whole month on Voyager en France, accommodation, outings, visits, and 1 whole month on Manger et Boire, eating and drinking, meals, dinner conversations, etc. The complete 3-month package with all materials are yours to keep forever. So it's an online program with Zoom calls, and the total value, if you were to do that for the 3 months with me one-on-one, it would be 1,065 Australian dollars. You can get all of this package, the 12-week training modules, with including reviewing, learning, practicing with group calls, videos, audios, PDF guides, the checklist, as well as practice exercises, all in one place. So you log on every Monday, you get a new module, and you'll get this bonus called How to Sound Like a Native French Speaker. And it's a pronunciation live training. There are 3, we do 1 per month. And it's as much about perfecting how you pronounce things as it is getting your ear ready to how a French person will say that, so that you can do your pronunciation, you're clearly understood, and you can understand when those words are said back to you. Because as we said, it's not pleasant to be able to say so much and not understand what we hear in return. So that is a $255 value just for the pronunciation. If they can do it, so can you. These are some of my lovely learners locally. Again, I've seen most of them for the last year on Zoom rather than face-to-face, and they don't have unlimited time to learn French. They don't immerse themselves in the language for years and years. They don't have a special talent for languages. Yet they follow this proven framework. They keep progressing with their French and they keep reinforcing what they know along the way. They go through all the steps, and the reinforcing really helps with gaining that confidence. Here's some feedback from the lovely Jenny, who's a past student of Beyond Beginner French program. Before she started, she filled out this intake form and she said, I've signed up to other courses before, but I struggled with the online format. I never progressed past the present tense and I got bored. But with this, she was able to keep motivated, keep her motivation high, and she is now a really effective and smart learner. She is going to be able to continue learning confidently, and she was able to speak in French and have the confidence to do so, which she was never able to before. The next bonus I want to talk to you about is, as well as a 12 weeks training module, so you get those every Monday, you get the 3 live pronunciation training course, we have a private students only Facebook group. So you might already be part of our Unlock Your French Facebook group. I think many of you are. But this one is just for Beyond Beginner French. And it means that everyone's going through the program at the same time. It's during the week, you can do the module any day of the week you want, and then come into the group practice. There'll be challenges in there, and there's accountability because there's a group of other learners who feel stuck with their French and have been in beginner land for way longer than they'd like to admit, and they're ready to move on. So that group is for the length of the program plus a whole month after, because we know that life can get in the way, and I just want to be able to keep that space for you and be present to help you along the way and cheer you on. So that's for 16 weeks, and the value is $397 for a teacher holding that space for you, and have a group of people at your same level who can really help. Everyone cheers each other on. Everyone, if someone puts a question, there's usually someone commenting, oh, I'm glad you asked that. I didn't want to sound silly. I felt like I was the only one who wasn't sure about this. So they ask, and it's all really through this collaborative approach that everyone gets through the finish line. There's a money back guarantee. So I know you love this program if you come and join us. We start on Monday, but if you buy, you will get a 14-day guarantee. So you can come and join. And if after 2 weeks you're not happy, or it's not what you were expecting or not what you need, you have nothing to lose. Just contact me and I will refund you in full. No pro rata, no drama over it. I only want people to complete this, to go through this program with me and cheer the program on, say nice things about me and my teaching and the program. I just want 5-star testimonials at the end. So if it's not what you were after or what you need, no question asked, money back guarantee, and you'll be able to try a different method. We do private lessons. Maybe private lessons is something more suited for you. But this group program, 14-day guarantee. The third and final bonus is a private study room. So you get the whole program, 12-week modules, you get the 3 pronunciation trainings, you get the private Facebook group, And then there's a practice room. So every week you will have 45-minute sessions with the other learners. I come to a few of those too, where you're working together, you're studying, you're practicing what you learned that week, and you're able to practice your speaking, practice listening to their answer, and working together and staying accountable. And we do that every single week through the program. So if finding someone to speak French to, I think it was Wendy, and I'm sorry if it's not, and I used the wrong name, but I just said I'll be talking to you about a practice opportunity soon. This program has it in it because I feel like the whole program is based on the 5 steps, and practicing is definitely something that you need. D'accord? Bien. So this is what it looks like once you log in. You're able to, I've just zoomed into week 5. But week 5 is the topic of voyage. Talk about your preferred type of holiday, book a train ticket, explain your hotel itinerary, and then all the elements are there. Week 6 is grammar, passé composé, with avoir, être, négation, question, but it's all broken into little bite-sized pieces, so you can do one a day or do one, check that you understand it, check for gaps, check your understanding, come and practice it, and then move to the next bit so you can work through them gradually. Ensuite, so the total value of the 12-week course with the 3 bonuses, you get 12 opportunity to come practice with the group. You'll get 3 live Q&A calls with me. You get 3 pronunciation workshops, and you get 16 weeks of this Facebook group to practice everything you learn in each of the module. Adds up to $2,077. This is what it costs. However, I do want to make an offer for you to join the program for 747 Australian dollar. That's about 500 US, 660 Canadian dollar, pardon. 462 euros, 387 livres anglaises if you're in England. I know some of you are. Rough conversion, so do check, but it works out Australian dollars, a very good currency to buy in. As you can see, it comes up a lot cheaper than you think. So 12 weeks, all those bonuses all together. You can sign up today and do 3 monthly payments, 297, so that you can spread the cost. And this is the bit.ly. This is the link where you'll find the page to sign up. So some of you can go and hop on there right away. We're going to do questions next. If you hop onto the page, you will see this banner, Beyond Beginner French. You can then create an account here with your name and details. You have the option to purchase by credit card or via PayPal if you prefer. And then you will receive automatically, little magic tech angels will help us and send an email saying you're enrolled. And then on Monday 15th, we start all together. I've already welcomed a few people who were on the wait list from the last round and who are in there already. So you'll be joining a lovely group already. And I'm going to take questions next. This is the link one more time. Michael, if you can pop it in the chat, that would be amazing. Merci, merci. So if at this point you're having a few concerns, you're thinking, that sounds great, but I'm too busy, just know that this course will be yours to keep forever. So you do have 16 weeks to do the 12-week. Every 3 weeks, there's a week of consolidation where there's nothing new. It's just your time to pause and keep going. So every month, even if there's 1 week that doesn't go as planned, you have that catch-up week. 3 weeks, 1 week of consolidation, 3 times, and then you have 4 weeks to catch up for the month, the final month. And then you have, in essence, you have it for life. You have all the structure you need to get past the basics in French. And you have all the videos, PDFs, audios, all the materials. There's a lot in there, but it comes in little packages, so it won't be overwhelming and you can get through them. I've had students spend 15 minutes to 30 minutes most days, not every day of the week, and they've been able to complete it. Or what if you fall behind? Well, you will have the opportunity to download everything in the course and keep it on your computer forever. So you can not technically fall behind because you have access to all of it. If you're unsure if it's going to help, that's why I have the 2-week money back guarantee. You can jump in today with $297 Australian and get started. And if it's not what you need and want, then you can just contact me and let me know. That money back guarantee is there to make sure that this is the right program for you. And it is going to make a difference to your goals to move beyond beginner French. Oh, my final slide is time for questions. So if you have any questions for me, and I know you've put some comments in the chat, I am going to hop back in there now. I'm also going to turn the screen off so I can see you all. If you want to come back with your lovely smiles, maybe not unmute yourself because there might be lots of noise, but pop your videos back on. I see Liz, bonjour. Mix has put the link in the chat. Super, that sounds amazing. Quelle heure lundi pour les leçons à New York? So, good question. What time are the live calls? So Monday you get the email, and then during the week you can work through it, John, at your own pace. The workshops, pronunciation workshops, so once a month, is going to be on a Wednesday, the last Wednesday of each of the months. So I've got the full calendar, but it's at this time. So I've done it so that the masterclass could give you a feel of whether you're awake or not at this time. So when we kicked off this masterclass, it was 10 a.m. here in Brisbane, ici à Brisbane. Whatever time that was for you, John, in New York, that is the time where the practice, the weekly practice is on a Friday, i.e. on the Thursday night for US, Friday morning for Australia and New Zealand. And once a month we do the pronunciation, and that'll be on the Wednesday morning, same time for Australia, 10 a.m., which will be Tuesday night for you in New York. D'accord? Super. So I know you're awake at this time. I know you've had to stay up. Très bien. I've got people swapping details there. We've got kids in the same places. Michel, I'm camera shy. Pas de problème, Michel. Pas de problème. Merci. No question from me today. Stephen, super. Stephen has joined. Super. Stephen, bienvenue. I'm so glad you are in good company. And I've got, oh, that's brilliant. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So look in the chat. The link is there. It starts with bit.ly. It's a short link, and you can go there and see if this is the program for you. I know that it's going to help so many people move past this somewhat frustrating phase of beginner land. If you've been here and you feel you're going around in circle, this is really the framework you need. And you can do it. And I'm not saying your French will fail if you don't join the program. This masterclass is enough for you to go, okay, I'm doing this. I need to change this approach. I'm trying to do too much, or I never pause to do the practice, or I don't do the consolidation because it feels too uncomfortable. Hopefully, after this masterclass, you can see that if you do follow the steps, solo or with our help in the group and with me, you will be able to see a big difference. The last 12 months compared to the next 12 months of French should look very different if you take action. In the workbook, you have a little area that I called Make a Commitment Now. I can get a bit bossy, sorry. I do it with love because I do want to cheer you on, but in the workbook it says, make a commitment now. What are you going to do in the next 30 days? So after the call, once I say au revoir to all of you, I want you to pick that one area of focus or that one action that you're going to take based on what you learned today, and put a reminder in your calendar so that in a month's time, when you've completely forgotten about this, if you haven't joined us and you've continued your French learning, that you can go back and go, oh, that's right. I've done it again. I've slipped in this bad habit, or I'm trying to do too much, or I'm spending too much time on it with no real plan. So Put a reminder for 30 days in your calendar, write it down. The power of pen and paper compared to just making a decision or even sharing it in the chat. If you put in your commitment in the chat, I do want it to be on paper first. So, let me see, I've got comments in here. Claudia, I know the verbs very well, but my issue is that my listening comprehension is poor, but I can speak up a storm with what I do know. Is this course for me? Yes, because everything we do is both the speaking half and the listening half. So if you feel confident in one half and what you're lacking is the listening, then all the audio practices, all the listening exercises I have in there, all the comprehension mini challenges I have, and all the weekly practice sessions are all going to really help. Pronunciation practice is also a blend of how to say things, like really mechanically what to do with your mouth to say la lettre R, what to do with your mouth and nose and jaw to pronounce the French nasal sounds, but also the listening, because we want you to be able to decipher them when you hear them. So the pronunciation, the practice, all of those will be relevant. It just gives you a little edge around confidence to speak up a storm. I love that. Great question. Merci, Claudia. Claudia's passing the DELF A1 and A2, brilliant, great. And if your goal is still to be able to have a conversation with confidence, the premise of this program is exactly what you want. If you can already do that, then hopefully you got something out of today's program, masterclass, but the program is about moving past the basics and confidently be able to have conversations at that level. So we do focus on présent 1 month, passé composé the next, and futur proche. So everything I taught you in here is what we do, just step by step. Diane, what if you are a very beginner? What stage should someone be at to join your class? Very good question, Diane. So Claudia saying, am I a bit too far along? And Diane's asking, am I a bit too far behind? Diane, what we do, because the 3 topics are independent topics, call them language islands. We kind of conquer my world, mon monde, and then we do another about travel, and then we do another about food and dinner and restaurants. What we do is for each topic and for each grammar point, each student kind of self-assesses. So you get an intake form and you're kind of rating yourself from 0 to 10 for all the different things, and we're moving the needle. So I have had students doing Beyond Beginner French program more than once, because they went from a 0 to a 5 out of 10 in that first round. And then they went, okay, so now I've done everything to a layer of limited vocabulary and limited grammar, but I've understood all the concept. I'm doing another 12 weeks to add another layer. As long as we see, it's all about making progress. I've got a model in the grammar that says good. Is it good, bad? No, it's not, it doesn't start with bad. That would be very positive. I say good, great, and amazing. So how do you feel about this tense? If you're good with it, then we want it to be great. If you're already great with it, we want it to be amazing and aim for less mistakes and perfecting it, etc. So it's mainly moving the needle. And you can start with, I know nothing about any of these topics, any of these grammar points, and you're going to move to a 4 or 5. And then you can do another layer or go through the program again yourself without the live, without the group, because all the material is yours to keep forever. So then you can go back through it and go from a 5 to a 10. D'accord? Does that answer your question? Super, I see you. Bien. Claudia, Isabelle, merci Margot, merci Hazel, merci beaucoup. John, il y a 30 jours, je vais apprendre le passé composé. Oui. Oui. So there's a bit of a mix of tense in here. 30 days ago, John, il y a 30 jours, and I'm going to learn the passé composé. So maybe 30 days ago you learned it, or in 30 days, because for 1 month we focus on passé composé, en 30 jours, in 30 days, within 30 days. En 30 jours, je vais apprendre le passé composé. And you will. You will. You don't need more time than that. You just need the expectation of accuracy to grow. Some people have known about passé composé for months, moons and moons, and they still make mistakes with it, and they just know that they need to refine it. Some people need to learn it. So it's all there. Liz, c'est un bon conseil. Merci. À bientôt. If you have no more questions, if your level is, I do have another one. Aminata, if your level is between B1, B2, is this a good fit for me? If your knowledge is B1, B2, Aminata, and this is, which is intermediate level, it is officially intermediate level, then I really hope that you're able to have a conversation with the beginner French you have. So the concepts would be concepts you already know, topics you already know about. Tell me what level you can converse at, maybe is a better question. Because you can, with French, you can open a grammar book and complete a beginner level, intermediate level, and advanced level grammar book and go, I know the grammar for all of this, but please don't talk to me, or please don't ask me to start a conversation with a French speaker, okay? So if you need the help to practice what you do know and go, but in terms of grammar, we won't be doing anything from B1, B2. If your goal is to converse with the basics that you have, you will see we only need présent, passé composé, futur proche, and we're only going to focus on those 3 language islands, those 3 topics, because if we try and do conversations about everything in the world, no one's going to be able to tick, yeah, I can now have a conversation in this topic and that topic. So we don't do too many topics. We keep it concise. And then if you know nothing about it yet, you'll know some about it. If you already know some about it, you'll know a lot more about it. Margot, très intéressant, super. Merci Michel, Anne, merci. John, j'oublie comment le dire. Pas de problème, John. Thanks so much. Gracias totales. Oh, I didn't know about how to say that. Merci Yvonne. Merci tout le monde. So I can't see any more questions. I want to thank you everyone so much for being here. If you're still on the fence about the course, about the program, do reach out to me. If you have any questions about the framework, one of the steps that you're not sure how to apply, contact me, reach out to me. I'd love to help you on your French journey. It's what I live for. I say I'm a French language teacher and cheerleader because I spend half my time just going, yay, someone got a win in their French or someone moved the needle. So I get very excited about it. So I want to help you. And if the program is not the right thing for you, you can take the framework and apply it yourself. And if you do want a space to have practice and a teacher on hand and a group of other learners at your level who have the same frustrations, that's what the program is for. But I hope you all had a useful bit over an hour we went. So thank you so much for all your patience, and I hope you all got a lot out of it. Goal is to do some more speaking and je trouve que j'ai besoin de trop de répétition. A lot of repetition, John. Yeah, that's fine. And that needs to be a conscious step of the framework, is that repetition. And we can't shy away from it. If we skip that step, we can't progress. So give yourself the chance to repeat it, but maybe narrow what you're repeating so you can really see the progress on it. D'accord? I'm seeing a hallelujah from Stephen. Merci tout le monde. Au revoir. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir tout le monde. Au revoir. À la prochaine.